Greetings and a very warm welcome to all. I'm Dr. Rachel Ann Behling, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to another episode of Life's Beautiful Synergies. This podcast is more than just a series of conversations. It's a journey we'll embark on together, a journey towards balance, empowerment, and transformation. Today we're recording from Rift Tap House here in Scottsdale. We're joined by a group of remarkable individuals who have just completed their PhDs. They're here to share their insights, challenges, and the wisdom they've gathered along the way. Let's dive into our discussion and learn from their experiences. Welcome, everyone. Let's begin with a brief introduction. Could each of you share your name, the focus of your research, and a unique aspect of your PhD journey?
My name is Jaitanya Parker, and I am excited to be here, first of all. But my dissertation focus is mentorship and connectedness to self in the present and self in the future with adolescent girls and their mentors. One aspect of the doctoral journey would be that you have to have tenacity and perseverance and able to succeed.
So my name is Dr. Claygo Hips. My dissertation was specifically on Black male faculty in higher education and their resilience theory and the things that they do to keep them within higher education for a long-term career. And a unique part of my journey to an EDD is I'm the first in my family. That's not a medical doctor. I'll give my cousins that. I have a couple medical doctors, but I'm the first one that doesn't get a white coat. I get the funny hat.
My name is Dr. Quixie Smith, and my research focus was on emotional intelligence and social emotional learning. And the one unique factor of my journey was just realizing what emotional intelligence was and using that emotional intelligence to grow into emotional maturity for myself, to not only understand my own emotions, but the emotions around those that I around and serve.
Hello, I'm Sable Marandi. My research focused on academic resilience, and it sought to explore a new description for academic resilience as offered by students in universities across the western region of United States. The data collection phase presented many challenges very unique to the fact that at the time I was situated in the most northern part of land in United States, which is a native village known as Utqiagvik. And it is the most northern part of U.S. land before the Arctic Ocean, situated literally on top of the world.
I am Dr. Marianne Sanchez, and the area in which I conducted my research was the reentry of at-risk youth back into the general classrooms. And the focus was on the exchange of social capital, or the sense of belonging, between the youth and teachers in order to help build better supports for not only the teacher in the classroom, but the at-risk youth that are attempting to come back into our society.
So this is actually one of my favorite questions to ask, is as you're reflecting on your journey as you were a doctoral student, can you share a pivotal moment that significantly shaped your approach to research? And how did it influence your dissertation topic or spur personal growth?
That is a great question. And for me, this is something that I have not shared with even my team members. But through this process, words matter. And it is very important that you align your words with what you are doing. When I was writing one of my chapters, I used a word called snowball, and that word was not actually in my chapter 3. So from there, and something that you all don't know, but from there, Dr. Behling had to write me up for a code of conduct. And through that process, I had to go to the board and go to a code of conduct hearing, knowing that that word that I used it appropriately, but the way that I used it when I was writing, I didn't use it appropriately. And knowing that words matter, and it could have cost me this journey, but everything was unfounded, and here I am today. But my biggest point is your words matter.
Yeah, so actually, the other part of that question is, how did that spur personal growth or influence your dissertation journey? What Dr. Smith just mentioned is a significant part of every person that becomes a doctor. because she mentioned that every word matters, but it's because there is a certain level of responsibility, ethical responsibility, when someone gets bestowed that title of doctor, so that anyone that is not a doctor and fellow doctors can trust wholeheartedly that you went through the journey with that expectation on your shoulders. In Quixie's case, she had put in there that she was going to use Snowball as part of her data collection. When you go through this journey of becoming a certified researcher with the title of doctor, every single protocol that you document, you have to follow to the letter of the law, or you are held accountable to an ethics board that is bigger than whatever university you decide to go to. So at that point, in order to protect her integrity and the integrity of the university and the whole institutional review board across the world, those things are a requirement of a dissertation chair like myself. But this young lady was able to come back and with a clear conscience and knowing the process in and out, was able to rise above that. And she came out so much stronger and so much confidence in her ability to speak to her process. That is where I think the true definition of her character and having that title of doctor is what carried her forward. So I agree with your example, but I would be remiss if I didn't add in the gravity and the importance of what she went through in order to come out on the other side of that. So that actually is the story and the journey of what she has done for every student that comes after her.
For me, moments before I was to begin my first interview, I was taking notes in my reflective journal, and the level of honesty between me and that journal, the level of honesty meeting myself, was the experience I will never forget. It is an experience that I fully remember with every sense that I know. I remember at once wondering, what am I thinking doing this? These were my heroes, the researchers. Do I dare count myself as one of them? And I was petrified and I was excited and I could feel everything all at once. And in all of it, perhaps I could feel even more with greater passion because I had just been released from the hospital, having been told, yes, you will live, as I had just come face to face with another unknown virus up there in top of the world, and I was alone through it. And because they didn't know what the virus was, during that period of time, I was truly isolated. I was truly isolated. My only contact with human beings were with those in full masks and orange suits. And now I was starting research. I think every feeling that I have ever felt, I felt during those moments before starting my first interview.
As she tells that part of the story, part of being a qualitative researcher is just like Dr. Smith's responsibility of being able to articulate how she collected her data and whether she followed the process or not. What Sable was just describing is the expectation that you're able to transcribe and describe the lived experiences of your participants, and you have the weight of translating it into your research, into your findings. So you have to be able to understand what that person sitting across from you in that interview is trying to explain. You have the responsibility of explaining it correctly, of capturing their essence, of capturing their story. So what she was just describing is that intense pressure of being so present in the moment that you put aside hospitalization, you put aside isolation, you put aside everything that has to do with you, who you are as a person, and you show up as the conduit of that person that you're trying to share their lived experience through your research. And to be able to do that with every challenge that this student had is an unbelievable life-changing moment for her. And it resonated in her research. So if anyone has an opportunity to read her research, I strongly recommend it because it comes out in her findings.
For me, something that truly did impact the way that I conducted my research was when I was sitting and speaking to a friend, and they told me that I needed to embrace the learning and to embrace the fact that there were a lot of unknowns that I needed to discover, so that as I was conducting the research, I knew the why. Why was I utilizing a particular methodology? Why were certain research questions being asked? The questions during the interviews, taking a look at those and really understanding, were those questions able to get into the depth that I needed to address the research that I was conducting. And it's just remaining open to saying it's okay if I don't know, but I'm going to learn, so that the work that I'm doing will truly be able to impact the field that I wanted to impact.
The first thing that really stood out during this process was actually before I got with Dr. Behling. It was in one of my content courses. And I almost quit, if I could be honest, because I received feedback from a professor about the theory that I was going with, which I'll say on camera, critical race theory. All right, ooh, boogeyman. Little did this professor know, though, I had been teaching for Johns Hopkins University for a year and a half, critical race theory. I'm also critical relevant teaching, critical relevant pedagogy. But for a whole 12 weeks, she just wasn't having it. Every paper I got was a C. I've never gotten a C. And it was all the same feedback. She just did not love this theory. And I remember her responding back to one of my papers with the definition that she got from Google for critical race theory, and just thinking, lady, I know what this is. That's not it. You just Googled this, but you ain't Derek Bell. You haven't pulled up Kimberly Kershaw's. Like, you haven't pulled up any actual, like, research for what this theory is that you hate so much. But the thing that I got from this exchange was, sometimes it's okay for you to be the only person to know that you're right. Because out of all the feedback that she gave me, the thing that I really took with me that helped my growth was, you're going to be, and this is verbatim, I remember it's been seared in my brain, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a committee here that you're going to be able to convince that the university is racist and the higher education system is racist. It's not what critical race theory is, but that's a very good point, right? If people think that this is what this is, then I'm fighting an uphill battle. So I took the lesson that I seeped a lot of my life into this theory, and the Black lit theory is adjacent to it. Once this dissertation is done, I got the rest of my life to write about it, right? If it's about getting done, we can make some changes, we can get done. And that was a big growth for me, because I was just going to quit. I really did not feel like I need one explaining to someone who clearly didn't know what they were talking about with this particular thing. This person's a doctor, so they know what but this thing they didn't. So sometimes you got to get through, right? The best dissertation I've heard since I've been in this program is a done dissertation. So now I can critical race theory folks to death, now that I have that doctor in front of my name.
This degree of becoming a doctor is so differentiated from any degree that you've had before. When you're in your master's program and your bachelor's program, you take the course, you take the test, you get the A, you get the degree. A doctoral program is not that. You can take all the classes, you can pass all the courses, but until you publish original research and you are the expert in the field in that moment, you will never become a doctor. And you have to be the expert in it because everybody around you has never seen it done before. So there are so many questions. There are so many anticipations of the pitfalls that you're going to fall into. But you have to believe it in your heart. You have to be so invested in that research becoming published that you will go the mile, that you will keep the grit, that you will keep the faith and keep learning about it until you know enough to get published in your research. That is the differentiator. That is the journey that you have successfully completed. And imagine if you quit. Imagine where you would have left literature if Dr. Kalego Hips did not complete his research and publish to keep advancing that scientific knowledge. I would only have 3 words: shame on you. But instead, you get to advance that scientific knowledge. You keep the conversation going. So everyone that comes behind you that doesn't know what critical race theory actually can be relatable in a classroom with professors, they wouldn't have that insight from you. So thank you for staying the journey and being that advocate for that theory and that methodology. Thank you for that.
I think that towards the end is when the pivotal moment occurred. That number one, that I was in the program for quite a bit of time. So I needed to kind of get myself together and get along with the program and finish. So that was a pivotal moment for me because there was a timeline. But I would say that overall, the moment was just being with my peers, knowing that I started with some amazing folks and I wanted to end with those same amazing folks. So that race, that was the race for me. That started the momentum for me to just finish with the people I started with.
What you mean by that is you had a group of 4 other students that were going to walk in this
Yeah.
graduation,
hmm
and you wanted to make sure that you finished with your tribe.
Absolutely.
Did I translate that
You
correctly?
translated that well. Absolutely. I think we all were kind of on the same page. And actually, it was an email that you sent. And the email had a timeline of everything from beginning to end. So that email became the let's get her done.
So the email that she's referring to, the famous, what was it, the graduation dreamers?
Yes.
Fabulous Five.
The
The
Fabulous
Fabulous
Five.
Five.
So I said, okay, the next graduation
hmm
ceremony for the college is May 1st.
Yeah.
If you want to graduate May 1st, you need to have this done by this date and this done by this date. And I said, are you in or are you out?
Right.
If you're in, you're in. And so I think that's when it
Yeah.
really became real, that if I miss this deadline or slip on this deliverable, I ain't walking in May.
Right.
And together they encouraged each other. They got through how many crazy things did
Oh my
each one of you go
gosh.
through,
Yeah.
each in your own way, right? Nobody owned badness
hmm
and nobody owned goodness. And I think that's
Yeah.
where that decision was made for
Yeah.
each of you 5 to
Yeah.
get that done.
That was it.
During your doctoral program, what kind of support proved to be the most valuable to you, and how did this influence your journey?
Yeah, I think the university, right, has the kinds of supports vary, right? So I had to find early and often had to find my tribe. So Dr. Behling knew I came to her from another dissertation chair, but I brought my content expert with me. My content expert was outside of the university. He was literally somebody who I've known since I started teaching way back in 2015, ninth grade, Jones High School in Orlando, right? And he was my boy. He's now he's been a doctor. So brought him along with me. You know, I said I taught for JHU, not the flex, but that experience also built in, incubated my mentorship. Everybody on my team has a doctorate, right? And then me and my homegirl were the last 2 to kind of go through that torch. So, you know, my mentorships was really my tribe of folks, and they were instrumental. If I did not have them, I don't know where I would be as far as moving through this particular space and not having that point of reference. So mentorship was integral to completing this program, to getting published, to doing any conferences. I wouldn't be here without my mentors.
Going through the doctoral journey, it is a long and lonely journey. And so through that process, if you put yourself on an island, you're going to stay there. So one way to keep yourself off that island is to find your tribe and find the people around you that are going on this journey with you and embrace them. So when you're struggling and when you're in the wee hours of the morning, you know that your tribes are going through the same thing that you are. They're up, they're studying, and to never get stuck. So the biggest support is identifying my tribe members and really connecting with them. And in order to find, for me, my tribe members, it came from Dr. Behling with our small groups. So when we have our small groups on Saturdays, those are my tribe members, and those were the ones that I knew that I could reach out to at any point of day or night, and that they would be there to help support with me and process with me and just be my thinking partners through this journey.
For me, mentorship is a subject very, very close to my heart. To begin with, growing up, the daughter of a brigadier general, my mentor was my father. And I remember sword fighting with him. I remember dancing waltz with him. And I remember him speaking with me about honor, about nobility, about integrity, about drawing the sword and fighting for a cause. In my profession, which is my great passion. I travel bush Alaska. I travel through the Arctic, and I address anything from a bad day and tears I can wipe away to suicide, to rape, to child abuse, to those subjects that we want so badly to believe don't exist, but they do, and we must do something about them. I'm also sent out to counsel and to mentor other counselors. And the PhD journey has taught me so much about mentorship by placing me where I needed mentorship. It somehow seemed to be different than any other journey because it begins with the candidate, with the learner's realization that I need the mentorship and I'm going to assume responsibility for going out and getting it. We find mentorship in different parts of our lives, in different areas. I have learned to look for it in my tribe, towards my chair, and yes, sometimes still, though at this time I must say my late father, but when it came to the subjects of honor, of nobility, I would still go to him and I would ask him what I am doing. Do you see me make humanity better? Do you see me? Do you see my PhD as that sword that I'm going to draw and make human society better for it? I'm trying to say, first and foremost, ourselves. We have to look for mentorship. We have to realize we need it. And the better learners we become, the better teachers, educators we have a chance of being.
For me, the mentors that I relied on, the first was my mom and the strong faith that she helped instill. And that when times were really dark for me, when the imposter syndrome really sets in and you start to question on if you're truly able to be able to complete the journey, is always relying on my faith and going into the church and just letting God know that I needed his support. And every time that I've done that, I've been very thankful in that different individuals are always put in your path. You have with your cohort, you have individuals who are good listeners, and others, as they're listening to you, that as they're doing their own research, will take a look at an area that you may be struggling with, and they send you information out of the blue, and it's just like a blessing. And you're able to read through those articles and you're able to move forward. Or it's just the phone call that you can make to someone that tells you, you can do this, keep going. You're so close. And then also reaching out to those individuals that are able to be really real with you, that are able to tell you, if you do this, this could be one of a decision that you'll regret and that you need to continue to move forward. So it's just taking a look at who you have in your life, but also just really clinging onto your faith, because God wouldn't have put you on this journey if you weren't able to complete it.
I think the most valuable support was from you. You had this amazing balance of cheerleader and assertiveness. That was the magic sauce, I think, for me. So that was the most valuable mentorship out of all. Beyond having you as a chair, I think that the most valuable mentorship was having other doctoral learners. They became my peer mentors, if you will. And so we began to kind of mentor each other, help each other, text each other, call each other. Dr. Quicksey and I almost every day, texting each other just to stay on track. So it was kind of this peer mentorship, and then you being our spearhead, our leader. That was, I think, again, just the success, our success overall.
Thank you for joining us for the first part of this enlightening conversation with our distinguished scholars. Don't forget to tune in next week for part 2 of our discussion on life's beautiful synergies, where we'll dive even deeper into the journeys that have shaped these individuals and their strategies for balancing life and research. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to sharing these insightful and inspiring aspects in part 2. Until then, keep striving for beautiful synergy in all that you do.